and welcome to my presentation on students in the digital age. This is Catherine Callahan sharing, and today we are talking about technology and then our Getting to Know You student survey. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first was my teacher survey that I did on technology usage in the classroom. I wanted to go off teacher A, B, and C just for clarity purposes. So who I interviewed, teacher A is a humanities and literature teacher for over 5 years. Teacher B was one of those literature teachers. She's the head of the department. She's been a teacher for over 30 plus years on and off. And teacher C is a music teacher for over 10 years and is actually my husband. So the top technology tools that all three of them used YouTube. That's also something I use almost every class, I would say. I always try to find a cool video to back up what I'm saying. And then he also used Finale, which is a music editing software. That was a big unit that they did with that, and all the kids got to use that. Another question I asked was, how do they use technology to engage students? And basically what I got from their answers, it was mostly for differentiation. They didn't really call it that in their responses, but that's what it was. And then to learn skills and demonstrate understanding. So sounds good to me. How do you plan for the use of technology in the classroom? The teacher A and B, both, I asked if you use it, if you plan around it or if you use it in addition to an already planned lesson. Teacher A and B both said that they pretty much plan their lessons and then try to add it in where they can. Teacher A did say that they get resources from other teachers sometimes that they hadn't heard about or research it, and they will try to specifically fit that into their classroom. Teacher C, I really liked what he said, so I put a quote from him in here. You can read that with me. In some lessons where skills are being taught for a particular software, the technology is the center focus of the plan. Perhaps we all have the same software and learning together, but in later lessons in the same unit of creating, students may not need the technology because the creative process will be different for each individual. There are times when a group of kids might be playing rhythmic patterns on an instrument with a pen and paper. Others may be journaling or researching to help with ideas for lyrics. So if an administrator were to walk in on one of these lessons, it may appear like absolute chaos. Does technology help you differentiate in the classroom? So I quoted all three, teacher A, B, and C there in order. Absolutely. Even if it is something as simple as showing a video for those visual and auditory learners, or playing a game like Kahoot for more tactile learners. Teacher B, yes, there are different types of learners. So seeing visuals along with the words I'm saying helps those that may not be engaged by a lecture style lesson. And then teacher C, yes, as mentioned in previous questions, students have more flexibility in their creative process in particular units. In other units, such as performance, I might have students use an app that allows students to engage in or exercise understanding or proficiency in a particular skill. These are really cool. I've seen him use these. In this case, some students may excel to a higher level within the app quicker than others. Novice or entry-level music students can also be highly engaged in the app because of individualized feedback and repetition of skill sets. So I thought that was pretty interesting. How do you assess whether it's effective? Teacher C said the tech is effective if it serves a purpose for resource building or lesson planning, engaging students in the content, or provides some sort of formative assessment. What do you do when your technology malfunctions? And you'll notice I didn't say if it malfunctions, because as we all know, it's going to happen. It happens. All right. And they all pretty much all said in one way or another, always have a backup plan. Yeah, so definitely just that's the basics there. Always have a backup plan. And then let's go into the student surveys real quick. Here's what the questions that I asked them. Name and what they prefer to be called. I looked at multiple sites to see what good questions to ask were, and multiple sites said this. And I understand that because my given name is Catherine, but I prefer to be called Katie, and that's what everyone knows me as. Moving on, do they have any siblings? If so, do they go to VSP, which was our school, and it kind of gives them more responsibility, so they have a different take on life in general. And then what's the first thing you do when you get home? That is a very telling question. Most of them answered homework. if it wasn't homework, it was taking other classes or video games. And I think that's good to know. That's a good question to ask them because they don't really get why you're asking and they answer honestly. And then what do you usually do on weekends? And do you wish you were doing something different? Pretty much all of them said they spend time with their families. Most of them also said that they are doing homework, and only a couple said they wish they were doing something different, like, and these were the ones that were taking extra classes and doing lots of activities. They were saying that, yes, they wish they were doing nothing or sleeping. And so that tells me, how busy are these kids? What are your hobbies? That one's kind of obvious. And then mostly I got some kids didn't have what they thought were hobbies. I liked a couple girls said reading. I know the types of books they like to read too. These kind of almost like Twilight, but a Chinese series, which is good to know because I can incorporate that stuff into my lessons. And then several of the boys said video games, which is another huge thing. Anytime I can incorporate video games into my lessons, the kids are dialed in. What is something that makes you feel proud? I would say 80% of them said getting good grades or good scores in their schoolwork. So that's also pretty telling. What is something that is challenging for you? I think almost half of them said that English or literature was hard for them, or something revolving around their English teachers, and that they struggle with that, even though these were mostly pretty fluent kids. It's still challenging for them sometimes because they have teachers from all over the world that have different accents that speak English. So that can be difficult for them, which I thought was interesting. Moving on, what is something you wish I knew about you? Based on what I researched, this was a good question to ask because sometimes you'll just get really basic answers, but other times you can get things that can really tell you something about your students that is very interesting and something that you can play off of. As far as my results go, two of the girls mentioned that they were kind of like shy and didn't like to be called on in class, which I already knew that, but them saying it was a big deal. And then is there anything else with that? Not so much anything more with that. And then what do you want to be when you grow up? I got some funny answers. I got a couple I don't knows. So other than that, I think that these surveys were really great and tells you a lot about the students and helps you to better plan so that they're more engaged. Absolutely. Thank you for watching, and thanks to everyone who participated.